growing others, inspiring others, coaching others, and leading each individual to their goals in life. Homeownership is one of the main passionate assets I have and wake up to every single day for every client to accomplish. My success story is about my family. Each day that I wake up and go home to is my children and my husband and my life. We live a life by design, and we live a life of love. Our story is much more than a success story. I am Jackie Stevens with the Stevens Home Team.
Hello. Good morning to El Paso and to every agent that's watching us, not even just an agent. We have investors out there. We have people in general that are wanting to just even, a lot of the questions that goes around is like, how are Airbnbs doing in El Paso and so forth? And should I buy a second home, or should I invest in another home and make it an Airbnb because, I see everybody doing it. And that could be the most awesome topic that Edgar could bring, and not only with just an agent, but a great friend that I've known in the industry, Mr. Ed Beck here. So I want everybody to give everybody a round of applause, even in my office.
Yes, here for Ed.
Let's hear it for Ed.
Everybody stand up.
Everybody stand up. And I was so glad that Edgar, because he's the one that, listed the agenda of talks and of course of what's important, when it comes to this. And he said, I got Ed on. I'm like, Ed? Oh, yeah, wow.
I said we got Ed, and the cool thing about getting Ed on here was because it's the one topic, right? It's the one that everybody kind of jumped on the bandwagon, and I don't know how many people are have bought homes and said, hey, I'm going to Airbnb it, you should do this. I know we did it, right? So I can't sit here and say that we didn't jump on that same bandwagon a few years ago and said, hey, why don't we bring it to El Paso? And we'll kind of start. We'll talk about a little bit how we got started and what made us do it here. But more importantly, I think the big question is here. I've heard it, across the nation. Is Airbnb dead here in El Paso? So let's talk about that. Jackie wanted to jump on. I tried to tell her like it's an Ed and Ed show. She didn't really do that, but I said, hey,
no. I'm getting in there. He always tries to push me away from all the goodness. I said, no, I'm jumping in on this one. So Ed, the floor, it's yours, the podcast. So let's hear it from you, who you are, where'd you start, and how did you get into the business?
I started in real estate in about 2004. Okay. And so I'm one of the few, and I started wholesaling in 2004 and flipping houses. And I started with my pops. My pops was in the business, and we went through the last collapse, right, of 2008, and it was devastating for the business. My dad lost everything. I had 3 repossession cars. I didn't lose any houses. It went from having the top floor of the International Bank building and 15 employees to me by myself putting out bandit signs. And then I built my business from there on out. I started doing live-in flips. And me and my wife, like Jackie, I'd love to see if you would like to do live-in flips for, 8 years and do about 14, my poor wife, and because in live-in flips, if you keep it over 2 years, you don't have to pay capital gains tax. Not legal advice.
Love it.
But so that's how I built up a lot of my income, and then I started buying rentals, and then I still always did wholesaling. I've never gotten my real estate license. I'm not a realtor. I'm actually kind of contemplating getting my real estate license right now. Just another topic for another day. And then in about 2010, I think I was very upset with everybody coming into wholesaling.
Yes.
And flipping, and they kept selling all these courses, these get rich quick courses, and so I wrote a book out of anger. And it was called, the title of the book, is Get Rich But Not Quick.
Yes.
I have that copy. I just found it the other day.
No,
yeah.
Did he give it to me?
Yeah.
It was one of those sessions that I went with you on, and then you gave me that book.
Oh, okay, cool. And and then I made a course, and I think only my mom and like my uncle bought, and then and then I just found a fast way to spend money, and so we made a course. I started doing coaching and stuff like that, mainly because I felt like what they were selling was snake oil online. That it wasn't true, and I was still doing the business. I was in the in the trenches, and I always felt like they were just giving an improper picture of what wholesaling, flipping, buying, and investing really was. And then in 2018, that's when I got into Airbnb. I had bought a building that I was going to turn into my office, and there was a tenant in the attic, and he was paying $450 a month. And I said, man, I don't want an office with the tenant that's, $450 a month. So I said, man, maybe I should Airbnb it, this new thing, right? And so I said, well, it won't hurt anything. So I just remodeled it, furnished it lightly, and I started renting it on Airbnb or putting it on Airbnb. And I got like the first couple of months, it was like $1,700 a month. And I was like, wait, what the heck? This is a fluke.
Wow.
And then I converted another property. Yeah, I converted another property that I was going to do a rental. It had the detached duplex. So I had like a mother-in-law's quarter in the back.
Testing.
You hear me? Can everybody hear me? Did we lose you? I can see you guys.
Okay, look, there he is, right there.
He's coming back.
Hold on, Ed, really quick. I think we have a little stop in the internet.
Oh, no.
It's like trying to.
Hey, what's up, Ed? I think we.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, Ed, what happened there? What happened?
I'm not sure. I was here the whole time.
We're breaking the internet. We're breaking the internet. I'm just kidding.
Breaking the cast.
Okay.
What was the last part you guys heard?
So you left off that you were renting out the basement and the guy was paying you.
Oh, the attic,
and,
yeah.
And you made like $1,700 bucks.
Yeah, so the attic. And then I had bought a duplex, a detached duplex in Central. These are both in Central El Paso, which is that's my little place I bought most of my stuff. So most of my holdings are in Central. And it had like a little mother-in-law's quarters in the back, like a studio, and then the front 2-bedroom, 1 bath. And I said, well, maybe I'll try the front one and I'll Airbnb it. So I tried it, and it was a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and I would have made $800 a month, and on Airbnb it was making me $1,700 a month, and I was like, wow. Beautiful. So then I started just converting a lot of my rental properties over to Airbnbs, but I still have. So in about 2021, I got up to about 23 Airbnbs, and I've scaled down a little bit. Right now I'm at like 17, but in 2019 I had about 150 rentals, and then now I'm scaled down to about 85.
Okay.
So that's me in a nutshell.
What changed, Ed? What changed, and why did you scale down? Was it because of COVID, or why did you reduce those to rentals and Airbnbs?
So I was converting over units to Airbnb during that time.
Okay.
which cost money.
Mm-hmm.
And then also there's a simple concept that every person that wants to invest in anything needs to understand is, are things underpriced or are they overpriced?
Correct.
And my assessment of the market was that everything is overpriced. So that's when you sell, and you buy when things are underpriced. So now I'm not saying that real estate market is like going to crash or whatever. I don't think the new correction is going to come from residential real estate. I do think we are heading to a correction in the market for sure. It's time.
Yes.
I think it's going to come from the stock market, from banking, from cars. The car loans are overpriced, and then even like a currency issue that's coming. We already see that with like Fed now and stuff like that. But that's part of the market. There's a famous saying that everybody should know, and it's from Warren Buffett. He says, "You buy when there's blood in the streets, even your own." You buy when there's blood in the streets, even your own.
Beautiful.
So you have to like it's a long-term play, and you have to be able to play both sides of the market. It's not always going to be an uptrend market. I know people don't like that, but that's where more millionaires are made, are in the down markets.
Are in the down markets, and also, do you consider, like I do, maybe when you grab these assets and you secure them down, they're some could be short-term investments, but like the Airbnbs and the rentals are long-term investments. I mean, you're trying to, make it a long-term, so you have some type of living, some type of, like you said, it's a business. It's a business that we're running. So when you say that, the caption here is Airbnb dead. What is going on that you've seen as far as pros and cons in the Airbnb market here in El Paso compared to other cities?
Yeah, I think just to give you an overview of what I think what's going on with Airbnb, the big catchphrase is Airbnb bust, right? That's the big thing, Airbnb bust. And it's legitimate, 100% legitimate. And the major reason why is most people bought during COVID at high prices and high rates of nightly stays, which are not normal. They had revenge travel, which the rates, because of supply and demand, the rates of the nightly stays went up, and people bought based on those inflated rates, which are not sustainable. They're not staying that way. And everybody's like, oh, my Airbnb's done. And they get mad at everybody for dropping their prices. Right. But don't get mad at people for, like, in real estate, as a realtor, you say the market is what the market is.
Correct.
You know what I mean? You could list the house at whatever price, but it doesn't mean it's going to sell.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Like one of the things I tell my agent when he lists my property is I say, let the market speak, put it on for 2 weeks. And then after 2 weeks, if we haven't had enough interest to keep it at that price, you have to drop the price.
Correct.
Or you have to fix something, or, there's something wrong.
Yes.
The market should speak to you, and the market is always right, no matter if it hurts your feelings.
We don't blame the market, we just interpret it.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing for Airbnb, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. Like what downfalls have you seen, Edgar, where you're just like, what the F,
Well, I mean, I think what Ed was saying has a lot of good weight on it in terms of, it was the hottest thing, right? So yeah, we were being able to set whatever price we wanted on the daily or night the night rate.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, you saw, and we all get infatuated. I mean, I always get it with Jackie, right? She'll send me do you see this guy? This is what we need to be making every year. And I'm like, yeah, it'd be wonderful, right? But the thing is, like, and I try to explain to her, and she gets it. And I try to explain to those that want to dabble and get into Airbnb, and it's a great option. We like it, we enjoy it. But kind of like you, Ed, we've diversified our portfolio, right? We for a minute there, we said we want to do everything exclusively Airbnb, And then from there, we say, you know what, on some of our properties here, I think it's just best if we stay at this 50-50, or we'll at least start there and then figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the things that a lot of these, again, YouTuber or, social media influencers were saying, and, charging for everything in addition, is something that was crazy, wash the dishes, do all this, plus there's a cleaning fee. If you use the
Mm-hmm.
car, there's another fee for that. It just got crazy, right? So everybody started doing it, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, wait a minute, now stuff gets back tight. Let's face it, everything in El Paso is probably expensive. Gas, food, everything. So everybody's a little bit different in how they do it. We're not getting as many as people traveling or whatever it may be. And there's trends for it, and there's trends that tell you otherwise it may not be the case. But yeah, those are some of the things that I've seen. And then so when you were used to making a certain amount, all of a sudden you're having to go down to where you need to be, or it corrected itself. And now the first thing that people want to tell themselves is, oh man, it's dead. It's a bust. We missed
or
it.
nobody's renting. What are we gonna do? We have to pay the mortgage. We have to pay
Mm-hmm.
the utilities. So
Mm-hmm.
what are you seeing in that aspect?
Yeah, for sure. We're seeing a lot of people get out of the game. And just like in any game, like you could talk about being a realtor as well.
Why are they getting out of? What would be the reason?
Because they, like, the same thing with realtors is they can't handle the swings. You know what I mean? And there's swings in any business. And if you can't handle a downturn swing, you're not going to be able to be in business. You know what I mean? Like, welcome to business. Like, business is not always uptrending. Business is not always the same thing. And the way that people did Airbnb in 2016 to 2018 is different than the way that they did it in COVID. And now I think a lot of people are having to change in the post-COVID Airbnb business. And I'll tell you a couple of the reasons. One thing, that the competition is fierce right now. Everybody's got their cool little thing. They've got their like to be really nice and modern and aesthetically pleasing is not something that sets you apart. It's something that makes you standard now.
Correct.
You know what I mean? It's a standard. Like, if you don't have any of those things, it's not going to work. And then just, I think right now that sets people apart is amenities. So if you look at like El Paso, if you got a pool in El Paso during the summer right now, your Airbnb is like booked for the whole summer. But if you got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath on the east side with no pool, and just normal IKEA furniture, like, nobody's going to care. You know what I mean? Like, it's not standing out. And you're not, and if you're not competitive in a market that's oversaturated a little bit, I think you're having a hard time. And it's not, there's not a magic pill. I think the other thing that a lot of people, the problem is like you mentioned, was the mortgage. What's your payment and how's your cash flow, right? Utilities have gone up, all the food has gone up, everything's gone up. Your interest rate has probably gone up, right? And your insurance has gone up, your taxes has gone up, everything is going up. But the rate, your nightly rate, has not gone up. If anything, it's gone down. And that's just a reason why people are going to get out. Now, does that mean that Airbnb is dead? No. Does that mean that there's never going to be a business? No. Does that mean that we're not going to have an uptick later on? No. None of that matters. It's just a matter of, can you live through the swing? And people get so emotional when it comes to business, and real estate. Like if somebody came and made me an offer on my house right now and it was solid, I'd probably sell it. You know what I mean? My wife would be pissed, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm not emotionally attached to any piece of real estate.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of what's the highest and best use, and how can I capitalize on what I have now. It's just a means to an end.
Absolutely.
And I think it's important because you try to acquire and you get one investment, and you get 2, 3, and it just feels good because you're adding all these numbers. But I think when you start to break down certain things, it only makes sense. Like, hey, maybe this is like one of the ones we want to flip. Maybe we didn't flip ideally or initially, but now after looking at a few things, this one might be the best one to now be able to acquire, 2 or 3 more. It's just like you said, not getting emotionally attached to the property is probably the best thing that we, as an investor, and then trying to then decide what kind of investor do you want to be. Do you want to be a long-term investor? Do you want to be short-term? Do you want to be, just an investor to say you're an investor and put it on your play tag,
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I mean, it really just becomes what you're looking forward to. And, we had our first Airbnb, I think, was booked maybe about 90% of the time. We never got to enjoy it. It was our first little cabin there in Rio Doso. And, you live and learn, you go in there. And I mean, there was a lot of things that initially me and Jackie had a good vision. We're like, yeah, we can Airbnb the sucker, because we talked to my best friend on a plane and he told me we can do it. And we did, right? We went out, got this great property. And like I said, it was always booked. However, we didn't look at some of the other stuff, things that maybe our guests were not going to be very happy with. It was a little lopsided, it was an older cabin, 1944, and little things like that we really didn't take into consideration. But when, like you said, when the market hit, when we saw how much it escalated, I said, a bigger one. And so we sold again high, and we were able to invest and get into a great property, and we have it now. And
but it comes all the cons to it too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
what people don't
cons.
even understand, like as far as the Airbnb, like the cleaning fees, the maintenance issues.
Mm-hmm.
What can you say about that?
So the one thing I can speak to that's, I think, different than most is the problem with scalability in Airbnb, because you have literally like hotel. So when I got up to 22, the biggest problem I had was like laundry, right? And then keeping a supply of all the little things, like soap and shampoo and conditioner and towels. And then when you're taking your laundry to a laundromat and they're not spot, removing stains, and you're losing linens and you're losing comforters because of spots. You can't have one spot on one linen because people freak out, and but people eat in the bed, and then like trying to make claims on damage to property and verifying all of that, like to scale an Airbnb business. And then it's like you have all these properties. It's like a hotel, but it's a hotel where all the properties are not located in the same geographic location, so you can't just hire one person to manage all that. So systems, it was a big hurdle, I think, to the business. And for sure, figuring out pricing for stuff. I really do think that a lot of times most Airbnb people are just a onesie twosie people. They got one or two, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And but they have an ability that I no longer have because of scale. I can't go and verify with my cleaners. I can't go and make sure the inventory is done correctly, and make sure that they're all those little things. So the scalability of Airbnb is a problem. And I think if you're really going to get to that point of having 10, 20 Airbnbs, the biggest thing you're going to run into the problem with is scaling, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's big, because that's the biggest one that Jackie and I, we got into it, was being able to find the right team, the crew, people that are going to care about your property as much as you do. I mean, at the end, they're going to go and they're going to clean it to in and out, because they got 2, 3 more. That's one thing that we had there in Rio Doso. They're cleaning cabins all day. So how does ours stand out versus all the other ones, for them to take their time? And I mean, we went through a few of them, and some, like, they're not always going to hit the perfect storm. Like you said, geographically, we can't say, hey, what's working for us in Rio Doso is what's going to work for us here in El Paso. That's a whole different demographic. Everybody goes to Rio Doso for different reasons. Everybody comes to El Paso for different reasons. So we look at all those things completely, differently, and I'm glad that you're sharing that, because I think scale is something that's important, and again, just making sure you have those systems in place. Now, where do you see it going in the next 2 or 3 years? Do you see yourself maybe selling some more properties just because still the market is good, you can sell and get rid of some of those properties, or do you think you'll be able to sustain and keep your long-term business there designed with Airbnb?
So I have two properties that are on the market right now, and I have two offers. I just got off the phone with my agent on one of them, actually the first one, and I put it on the market. I got a pretty good offer on it, so we're just going to counter a little bit. But so my belief is that the market is going to, the Airbnb is pretty much.
I kind of like this full screen version right here.
It is good. Let's see.
I wonder why we didn't really.
Trying to see if we can get Ed back on here, guys.
Oh.
Work with me here, Jack. What do you think? How's it going?
It's quite amazing. I mean, I think I want to talk a little bit more about
Oh, I can hear you guys.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm not sure why they're having so much problems.
Yeah, there's some updating going on here.
Okay. On the software.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm not sure.
And so
but anyways, thanks for streaming back in.
Okay.
I was going to ask a very important question on the getting started. Like how do people know? Like you said, you don't want people just jumping in. Like, what are some questions they can ask themselves on preparing for an Airbnb? What should they know as far as even starting this business?
Okay. So the first thing is you're kind of like doing a McDonald's style. This is the way I look at Airbnb, McDonald's style real estate transaction. So you like Ray Crockett says, is he's not in the burger business, he's in the real estate business. But the Airbnb business is the burger business, and you have to make sure your burgers are selling, right?
Exactly.
So so when you look at it, you kind of have to go like a twofold understanding. So first thing you need to understand is what market rate is. And the misconception is a lot of people, they put the market rate and they did it based on the highs and expecting that it's just going to continue to go up, and I think that's a misnomer. So first thing I would do is I would try and figure out what the market rate is for whatever property you're looking at. And I would look at it over a year, maybe 2 years. And there's a good software, it's called AirDNA, and you could pay for that, and you could look up what your property will make. You could also look it up on Airbnb, but that data is kind of skewed, and then it doesn't show you properties that are rented and not rented. It just shows you like overall. So it's hard to really get a grasp if you just look at Airbnb. But I would say that, and then I would be conservative, and then I would base it on 15, 20 days occupancy out of a month. And then you can get an idea of what your gross revenue would be. And then you have to figure out from there, like, okay, what's my utilities? What's my expenses? How much does toilet paper and paper towels cost? How much is, soap and shampoo and all the miscellaneous things? And I think most people are there. There's really two camps for Airbnb. And one camp is the very foo-foo camp. And I think that's what most people think when they think Airbnb.
Correct.
And I'm in the opposite camp. So I made a conscious decision, because my properties are a little more lower income in lower income areas, that I'm going to be like, I'm going to match what a hotel is. And then I'm going to offer more because I have a kitchen, and I'm going to offer it at a lower price. So
Gotcha.
my competition is the hotel business, not Airbnbs. So it's a little bit of my blue ocean strategy to just throw a book out there that nobody's probably read. But so that's what I would say. But if you're going to start, so you want to understand your market and what you're trying to accomplish, and who's your buyer, who's your avatar, and what are they looking for, and then build it around that, and then do the math and figure out if you actually would cash flow. And there's another rule where you could say 8 days, 8 days out of a month on the weekends, would that pay for your mortgage? That's another rule that you can use. So like, say you're making, $150 a night on the weekends, and you multiply that times 8, that's how much you can afford in your mortgage. And then the rest should pay for everything else and make you some profit. But nobody's even close to that right now. I would say most, if not 50%. Like, if you look at the numbers in 2018, the number of Airbnbs doubled in El Paso.
Mm-hmm.
So from 18 to today, it's doubled. And now, is there enough Airbnbs for the market forever? No. I think the Airbnb market is growing. And if you're actively in Airbnb, you notice that even most of your guests are new. You know what I mean? Like, I get a lot of new guests all the time. Mm-hmm. And so it's Airbnb is still growing. It just didn't grow at the level that the hosts grew at. There was an imbalance with that. There was like a gold rush, so everybody was trying to jump in the game early. So
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I'm having a hard time.
Ed, can
Yeah.
you hear me?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. Honestly, I really don't know what's going on.
I'm staying on. It's funny because I'm direct with the high-speed internet, so I have whatever they call the Ethernet cable is connected directly to my desktop. So.
I don't know if it's us on our end. More likely it is then. But so that we don't have to keep going through this. Let's finish with like some strong points on here as far as like El Paso's Airbnb. Is it dead? No, it's not. Like you mentioned, it's more the hosts, right? Us keeping up with the Joneses, basically.
Yeah, it's there's a big pullback. There's a big pullback in El Paso's market, just like every market. And there's a repricing and a reevaluation of quality and what you're offering for the price that you're offering. And I think it's healthy. It's healthy. You know what I mean? A lot of people got in the business, they don't know what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Let's just call it for what it is. And especially that furniture price could rack up a little bit too. I told Edgar, good Lord, even the furniture went up, right? Mm-hmm. And you gotta, it has to match. It has to make sense for you instead of just going in blindfolded. So
yeah, you have to have an ROI.
Yes. On your recommendations, as far as like getting the Airbnb started, do you suggest any platforms for people to be more thorough on these Airbnbs? Like, do you use Airbnbs? Do you VRBO? Do you use your own platform?
I've done VRBO booking, Airbnb, and I've used Guesty. I've used Price Labs. I've used all the softwares. I do think that it's different when you have a bigger market or a bigger price point because you spend money per transaction a lot of the times. So it's just depending on whether you need it or not. I figured I've gotten to the point where I can do my own pricing, and it's pretty active. I think I've got about an 85% occupancy rate.
Amazing. That's amazing. And I heard you say you have most, when it comes to Airbnbs too, I've heard this too in the Airbnb with people who've invested is choose a active area.
Yeah.
I've noticed that our current Airbnbs are more active and our smaller ones more,
Yeah. And I think it goes to what he was saying, the amenities that you have in it can be offset like in those areas because of close proximity to, you have the medical offices there. You have UTEP, you have concerts that people are going. I mean, I think I have like at least 3 or 4 people that are just coming for exclusive concerts here, and which sometimes be a little scary at times too, because you're like, what kind of pre-party you're gonna have and afterward, right? But for the most part, they've been very good on that. But I've seen a lot more action there. We have one out Far East that does fairly well for itself, but it's constituting a whole different type of demographic on it. Sometimes it's a little, it's not as booked as much, but it's also one of our higher price ones per night, so it kind of offsets. Then you got to be careful with that too, right? Because sometimes if you go too low budget, you tend to, bring in the wrong crowd at times too, which is scary. Because then you're now really dealing with those miscellaneous costs, having to fix walls. I know we did that at one point. We're like, what happened to our house? There's holes everywhere.
It was damaged. I was like, what happened?
And so you got to be careful with that too, right? So I think you brought up some good ones. I think that's what a lot of us do is that we stick to just one platform. We want it to just be magical doing there. I think you do have to have certain different ones. And, I know that's what we're pulling right now in some of our homes is just seeing which one works best for which one.
Yeah.
Because I know that, they're all working with algorithms and all that good stuff. And I think that's what everybody right now that I'm seeing that are, started. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of, not yard sales, but homes that are putting their sales because they're getting rid of their furniture and they're getting rid of their home, so it's it's crazy, but like you said, only the strong will survive on that, and people that are continuously learning and picking up on the Airbnb is what we said is gonna
just stay in there is what you said. Stay in there and go through the storm and on the downswing.
Yeah, and if you need to sell, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like you could buy on the bottom. Like don't. And if you need to sell, I know some good realtors right here. You can call them up and they can list your house. You know what I mean?
I'll say that.
We'll sell it in a heartbeat for you, honey.
Yeah, and I should do a shameless plug. If you guys are interested, I do have. I just finished my new courses, so I have a course on Airbnb. I have a course on investing. I have a course on flipping. I have a course on wholesaling. I have a course for everything. How to make your wife happy. No, I don't have that course.
I need that
one. But if you
properties.
yeah, if you guys are interested, I can send you a DM or send me a DM and I'll give you guys a link to it. It's live.
I would love to it. Yeah, I would love to, and then we could share it with the team here. Also, maybe we could get you in live on a panel if you're okay with that.
Sure.
To you, because we do have agents that I teach them not to just spend their whole commission. We got to take a percentage and put it into investments. And people ask how we get these investments all the time. Well, it's because there's a little bucket that I like to save in, and when I'm ready and I find something, I use that. But I do want to talk about OPM a little bit because I hear that a lot, and sometimes we need to be educated on that. Is what does it mean when people say using other people's money? How are you able to get XYZ amount more properties? What can we do to grow that in ourselves, our lives, and our business?
Yeah, for sure. Especially because right now people are scared of putting their money in the stock market. So they need a place to put their money, and real estate's a solid place to put money, and it's outperformed everything over time. You know what I
So
mean?
you agree that the number one, strong or where to put your money is real estate.
Long term, 100%, you can't beat it. And then also with the tax advantages, not legal advice, but the tax advantages that you get with rental properties. Not paying taxes is kind of like making money. You know
Yes.
what I mean? So
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
love it. I think I've already picked up a couple of things from you, and hopefully Edgar can do one-on-one with you, because I will tell you, I don't give him enough kudos on running the Airbnbs. Like you, Ed, I just know that it is stressful.
Oh
Maybe
God.
nothing I want to share. I just try to, like, I want them and I go after them and I get them, but then I give it to him like, here you go.
Yeah. Here's the problem. Take care of it.
Take care of it. I'll furnish
Yeah.
it and I'll do all that, but you take care of the rest.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. You need both sides. You need somebody to go make problems and somebody to fix them. You know what I mean? So that's what it is.
It's a good strategy.
I think I've given him a lot of problems.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
Well,
Make wifey happy.
I am happy to see you doing well too, Jackie. I am happy to see you doing well physically.
Thank you so much, Ed. It's been a rough 5 months, but I'm still here, and I'm gonna live it like it's my last. So thank you, Ed. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah. All right. Well, you want to end it there?
Thank you. Like I said, I don't want to steal our audience here from these little technical difficulties that we got going on, but I know we'll definitely jump on again here.
Oh, and just make sure and wait, guys, audience. If you play this again with Ed on the replay of the video, I will set up something live so we could talk about investment, Airbnb, rental, and maybe even getting with him on wholesale, so we can get his professional advice on that.
Sure.
So thank you, Ed, so much. And thank you for sticking with us through the technical difficulties.
That's cool. Bye, guys.